Hello lovely people! Today we're going to be answering that age-old question, what's wrong with you, Jessica? If you've seen my I was misdiagnosed video, you'll know that I now have a better idea of what that actually is. Many years ago I made a video called My Disabilities that explained a bit about my disabilities. You can tell it was made a long time ago because both the production values and my eyebrows are terrible. Subscribe to support my much better, nearly microbladed eyebrows. At least that video told you more about the disabilities I had been diagnosed with at that point. Hereditary neuropathy with liability to pressure palsies and mixed connective tissue disorder. The first of these is diagnosed via a blood test and DNA sequencing. I'm missing a gene, so even a computer can spit that result back at you. But the second one was diagnosed by my rheumatologist, who apparently was wrong. I drop the word rheumatology into videos all the time like it's as common as the word egg. Rheumatology is the study of immune-mediated disorders of the musculoskeletal system, soft tissues, autoimmune diseases, and heritable connective tissue disorders. If you have one of those and live in Manchester, you may have been treated at the Kellgren Centre for Rheumatology, which is named after my grandfather, who was Britain's first professor of rheumatology, and greatly advanced the study of the physiology of pain, which is something I deal with every day because irony knows no bounds. Please feel free to argue in the comments about whether or not that is actually irony and what irony even is. Points for dissection of Alanis Morissette's song. So, my doctor thought I had mixed connective tissue disorder and I thought I had mixed connective tissue disorder and the internet was like, nah. People left me comments saying, I think you have EDS. And I made friends with people with EDS who said, I think you have EDS. So I went to a new rheumatologist who said, you definitely have EDS. It was obviously a much longer and more dramatic tale than that, but I talked about it in the misdiagnosis video. This video is about my new diagnosis. And this seems like a really great point to throw in that I'm deaf, but no one knows why, so pin in that one. But I do keep getting tagged in Twitter conversations about the high crossover of people with hearing loss and EDS, so interesting. Let's start with my first and much easier to understand congenital disability, HNPP, hereditary neuropathy with liability to pressure palsies, otherwise known as I'm missing a gene, so the protective coating around my nerves has holes in it, which means my nerves damage easily and I can temporarily paralyse parts of myself. Basically, if I trap my finger in a door, it paralyses. If I sit on my crossed legs for too long, they paralyse. If I hold my unsupported arm in the air whilst painting, it paralyses. It's a highly irritating condition that has the incredible knack of popping up exactly when I don't want it to. Got a party? Watch me paralyse something. First day of a holiday? Watch me paralyse something. Need to open a fun parcel with some scissors? Haha, that paralysed my hand. HNPP doesn't just lead to floppiness and numbness though. It also makes my nerves randomly fire pain signals at me and read things like cold water or a splinter as, you are being murdered. But at the same time, it can work the other way and I won't notice that the skin on my arm has been flayed off, actual thing that happened, or that I'm walking around on a broken toe, a thing that happened. So at least it's interesting. And because it hurts so much, I take a really huge dosage of pain medication that I then put into these adorable pill cases. They make a rainbow and they're fun. I'll leave a link to them in the description. Was it a reach to find that particular silver lining? Well, it's an affiliate link, so looks like HNPP is being helpful after all. So that's condition 1. Then we come to condition 2, which is a little more complicated, and as you'll know if you watched my video on Tuesday, quite misunderstood. EDS, which is short for Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, is a group of 13 individual genetic conditions that affect the body's connective tissue. Think about connective tissue as being the glue that holds your body together. The human body is composed of 4 basic types of tissue: nervous, muscular, epithelial, and connective. Connective tissue is the most abundant, as it connects, supports, binds, or separates other tissues or organs. From fibrous tissues, fat, bone, blood, and bone marrow, this stuff is everywhere. The most abundant fibre in connective tissue is a tough protein called collagen. Tendons, ligaments, and the white, stringy tissue that you see in some cuts of meat are composed almost entirely of collagen. It's not just something adverts tell you your skin is missing. Collagen also strengthens bone and cartilage. And having strong bones and teeth is much more important than not having smile lines, so please don't spend extortionate amounts of money on skincare with flakes of golden because you deserve better than that. And you're already gorgeous. EDS is a gene mutation that causes a certain kind of connective tissue to be fragile and stretchy. The kind of tissue that it affects will depend on the type of EDS you have, but most often it's collagen. As collagen is present throughout the body, people with EDS tend to experience a broad range of symptoms. Although being hypermobile, i.e. having joints that stretch further than is normal, or being double jointed, and the effect it can have on your very stretchy skin are the most obvious ones, while tissue fragility in general can be kind of hard to see from the outside because it's inside your body. I've recently become really annoyed at my inability to grab toilet paper properly. Yeah, there's a correct way to grab toilet paper. Let me demonstrate. So now, most people would make a pincer motion between their thumb and the top of their finger, but for me, that finger's just too, wobbly. So I have to make a pincer motion between my thumb and the first joint of my finger. Like so. And that would be fine if it didn't make me sick to my stomach every time I do it, so helpful. Glad it's not something I have to deal with every few hours. How dare you? Other than being made nauseous by toilet paper, symptoms can include long-term pain, chronic fatigue, dizziness, heart palpitations, and digestive disorders, since, it's a lot of connective tissue down there. EDS can hit you in this really strange ways, to the extent that most people have a range of really weird symptoms that don't seem to connect or make sense until you find out you have EDS. For instance, I've always been allergic to really random things like trees and wool and rabbits and grass and cats and dogs and glitter and caterpillars and aloe vera, to name just a few. But my reaction to them is like all over the place. Sometimes cats make my eyes itch, sometimes they make me really need the loo. Sometimes they make me lightheaded, and sometimes they make my skin really dry and itchy. I know, I'm a lesbian who doesn't like cats. I'm surprised the community haven't ostracized me yet. Fun fact, EDS and allergies are related, so you can leave Jamila Jamil and her peanuts alone. Mast cells are a migrant cell of connective tissue that contains granules rich in histamine, which is part of your immune response, and heparin, an anticoagulant. Mast cells play an important role in your immune system, but if you have connective tissue issues, they can just become over-responsive and do weird things when you come across an allergen. So these responses include itchy skin, pain in the abdomen, fainting, blood pressure instability, gynecological bleeding, brain fog, shortness of breath, bone pain, nausea, and needing to pee because you're allergic to something. Mast cells interact with connective tissues in the extracellular matrix, which may be why people with connective tissue disorders such as EDS experience mast cell activation syndrome. And the allergens don't have to be obvious things like animals or insect stings. Exercise or high emotions can also trigger an immune response. I mean, I used to tell my gym teacher I was allergic to exercise, and turns out I wasn't that wrong. Despite the grouping and their common name, each of the 13 types is a very distinct condition caused by a different gene mutation, meaning that one type cannot later turn into another, and you can't inherit a different type to the one that your parent has. Funnily enough, since they're each so rare in their own special way, the likelihood of someone having more than one type is extremely low. The type I have is called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or HEDS, with a little h, and a big EDS. HEDS is characterised by hypermobility that affects both large and small joints. I can't really show you, just my arms. Along with soft, smooth, velvety skin that bruises easily, and chronic muscle and bone pain. It creates faulty connective tissues throughout the body and musculoskeletal issues, which lead to frequent joint subluxations, which is partial dislocations. Fun thing, that happens when I open my mouth too wide. Just every time. Cool. Partially dislocating my mouth when I eat. And then actual dislocations where your arm just like pops off. Yeah, that happens to my right shoulder a lot. Also my hip. I'm like, what is wrong with my right side? It also created my scoliosis, which is the double sideways curves in my spine that mean I'm at least 3 inches shorter than I should be. And I'm already 5'9", actually, so thank goodness my spine is curved, or else my wife would have to stand on tiptoes to kiss me. I have the Marfanoid phenotype, which describes the type of body I have. It means that my arm span is longer than my height. And I can wrap my fingers around my wrist and do this with my thumb, which I genuinely thought everyone could do, but apparently not. And I have a really small jaw with a high palate. So I've had 6 teeth taken out and braces twice. My teeth are still crowded. It also apparently makes me giddy, which is an actual medical term, and imbalanced, which explains why I spend the majority of my childhood falling flat on my face. Honestly, it's a marvel my nose still sticks out this far from my face. Oh, and flat feet, which is why I actually find it much easier to walk in heels than with no shoes on, because my feet are really like floppy and flat and they don't know how to roll and then lift from the ground. So yeah, plus sides include an excuse to own an excellent shoe collection, being able to see over other people in a crowd, and my jaw popping out when I open it, which really just means I can fit more food in. So yay. Negatives may have an impact on my heart in the future. I laugh, but my body really does pretty much hurt all of the time, just all of the time, for no reason. My bones hurt. Sometimes bones I didn't even realise I had. Soft tissue is really everywhere in your body, so EDS and the faulty proteins in my tissue affect every part of me. It's why I have this side condition called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which I'm going to leave the link to an explainer video about in the card above, which is a malfunctioning of the autonomic nervous system that also affects my heart, bloody heart, and blood pressure, which then has the knock-on effect of making me quite delicate. Yep, no getting away from it. I'm a delicate flower with a core of steel. By which I mean, being disabled just makes me quite a strong person metaphysically. Definitely not literally. Other rebellious soft tissues in my body include my stomach and guts, which react very badly to the majority of grains, quite a few root vegetables, definitely anything that resembles a bean or a pulse. Absolutely hates the entire onion family, has a standing war with the garlic family, is the nemesis of dairy, and oof, can't be doing with sugar either. And I've probably forgotten some other things I can't eat in that list. I used to struggle a lot with my stomach, and it was really hard keeping weight on. It still intermittently bleeds when I eat the wrong type of gluten-free bread, or makes me throw up if I have a pad thai with too much sugar, but I am definitely more on top of it than I was. If you're really struggling with stomach issues, especially if doctors put you in the box of teenage girl, it can be difficult to get help. I struggled for a really long time to have my digestion issues taken seriously and to be referred to the gastrointestinal ward rather than the eating disorder one. The way I was treated has left a pretty big scar on my psyche that I sometimes struggle to deal with, but you'll have to find out more about that when I eventually publish that book about my life. I think it's much easier to write down than to say out loud without crying. I mean, I'll still cry when I write it, you just won't be able to see my snot. Other than medical trauma from going through a lot of near-death experiences and hospital procedures, I'm pretty blessed when it comes to my mental health, and I'm really grateful for that. Those of you who struggle with mental ill health are absolute champions in my eyes, and I am both awed and impressed by what you managed to get through. The hardest thing to deal with for me are my 20 migraines a month. My EDS doctor thinks it's caused by HNPP, and my HNPP doctor thinks it's caused by my EDS, and my primary care doctor just kind of throws his hands up and goes, haha, that sounds bad. Yeah, it does. My migraines are currently under investigation, so I will get back to you when someone has finally managed to work out what's going on with my brain. The main thing you need to know is it's awful. According to one doctor, my brain is kind of having tiny little mini strokes occasionally, and that's knocking out parts of it, like the bit I need to process sounds, which might be why I'm deaf, and the part of the brain that processes whatever my left eye sees, because currently it's, this. Hi. This is life through my left eye. Ugh. Always makes me feel sick looking at that. Anyway, I had lumbar puncture when I was 17 and that went wrong and bled out my spinal fluid, so my brain got damaged and now I have problems with memory and cognitive functions, so oh well, it's kind of a weird brain anyway. I'm really good at visual awareness though, and Rubik's Cubes, so not all bad. Unfortunately, my memory loss doesn't actually let me forget that I have memory loss, and I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because being aware I'm extremely forgetful is desperately annoying. And for my wife when I'm telling her the same story for the 5th time. But also forgetting that I'm forgetting would probably be desperately sad. Okay, no, I'll just keep annoying myself, it's fine. So bringing this back full circle to EDS, since it's the first time I've really sort of spoken about it and explained more, it is important to remember that each individual's experience with EDS is their own and likely won't be the same as other people's. If you have EDS or a similar condition and you're feeling pretty alone with it, just know that there are others who deal with overlapping symptoms even if they're not exactly the same, and that you can reach out for help. I have a Discord board with a thread for EDS and other connective tissue issue friends, so join up there and have a chat. I will leave a link in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this video where I essentially list what's wrong with me, but I also added some things that are right with me for balance. And I think we can all agree that my hair is looking great today. If you've made it to the end of the video, leave me a gold star and tell me one thing that is right with you, and we'll all boost you. I'd also like to give a shout out to these amazing creators who have EDS. So we've got YouTubers Annie Sagara and Stevie Bobby, drag queen Evie Oddly, singer Sia, blogger Sarah Lax, YouTuber Martina from Eat Your Kimchi, creator Aaron Linguini, actress and presenter Jamila Jamil, writer and consulting mortician H. Tilton Ratcliffe, which is just an excellent name and job title, and model Sarah Gertz. See you in my next video. So, amusingly, right after I filmed this video, I managed to smack the inside of my elbow, and now I got this to deal with. Yeah. I can only move my two main fingers, and I've had to dig out my good old-fashioned wrist splint, which, to be honest, is a little bit manky right now. So, yeah. But do you like my pajamas? Aren't they lovely? I had them custom made from Etsy. I'm going to leave a link in the description. It's also an affiliate link because now I need to buy a lot of new wrist splints.